Today, we're diving deep into one of the most fundamental questions there is. How does life make more life? It's the grand strategy that connects every single living thing on this planet, and you're about to see just how ingenious, diverse, and sometimes just plain weird it can be. So here's a question for you. What could a massive whale, a stationary pine tree, and a microscopic bacterium possibly have in common? I mean, they couldn't be more different, right? One rules the ocean, one is literally rooted to the spot, and the other is totally invisible. But believe it or not, they all share one single powerful mission that defines their entire existence, the absolute drive to reproduce. And to pull off this mission, life on Earth has come up with two master blueprints. That's it, just two main strategies that everything from the tiniest microbe to the biggest blue whale follows. So let's break them down. Okay, so here's the bottom line. On one hand, you've got asexual reproduction. The easiest way to think about this is like a biological photocopier. One parent just makes a perfect, genetically identical copy of itself. It's super fast, it's efficient, and it's a great strategy when things are going well and you just want to copy a winning formula. But on the other hand, you have sexual reproduction. This is where two parents get involved and they shuffle their genetic decks to create a totally unique kid. It's way more complicated for sure, but all that variety it creates, that's like the ultimate insurance policy for survival in a world that's always changing. Now let's see how these two blueprints actually play out in the animal kingdom. Because animals have developed this incredible playbook of strategies, from the dead simple to the wildly complex, all to make sure the next generation gets its shot. Some of the simpler animals take the asexual shortcut, and the ways they do it are pretty wild. Take budding. A little hydra literally grows a mini-me right off its own side, which then just pops off. Or even crazier, regeneration. You can take a planarian worm, cut it into pieces, and each individual piece will regrow into a brand new, complete worm. It's like nature's very own magic trick. But for the vast majority of animals, the story is all about sexual reproduction. And it all hinges on this one critical moment. Fertilization. This is it, the fusion of a sperm and an egg to create what's called a zygote, the very first cell of a new life. And this crucial event can happen in two very different places. And where it happens makes all the difference. You've got external fertilization, which is really common in the water. Think of fish or frogs releasing eggs and sperm out into a stream and just hoping for the best. It's a numbers game. Then you have internal fertilization, which happens safely inside the female's body. This is the go-to strategy for most land animals because it offers way more protection and a much higher chance of success for each zygote. So after fertilization, there is another major fork in the road. Oviparous animals like birds, reptiles, and insects lay eggs. This lets them produce a whole bunch of offspring at once, but those eggs are pretty vulnerable out there in the world. On the flip side, you have viviparous animals, like us mammals. The embryo develops safely inside the mother's body, which ends in a live birth. This usually means fewer offspring, but each one gets a huge head start with a ton of protection and care right from day one. Okay, let's switch gears and turn to the plant kingdom. Plants have a really unique problem to solve, right? They can't exactly get up and walk around to find a mate, but don't worry, they've evolved some of the most beautiful and brilliant solutions to this little problem. Just like some animals, a lot of plants have these asexual shortcuts. They can basically clone themselves. You've definitely seen this before. Grasses sending out runners, a single potato tuber sprouting a bunch of new plants, or an onion bulb that has everything it needs to grow a whole new onion. It's an amazing way to spread out and take over when conditions are just right. But the true star of the plant reproduction show has got to be the flower. So let's build one, from the outside in. It all starts with the sepals. These are the tough, green little leaf-like bits at the base that act like tiny bodyguards, protecting the delicate flower bud before it's ready to open. Then, the flower shows its true colors and unfurls its petals. These are the flower's giant, flashy billboards. Their bright colors, their patterns, their alluring smells, it's all designed for one single purpose, to scream, "Hey, pollinators, the good stuff is over here," to bees, butterflies, and birds. So, lured in by those petals, the pollinator bumps right into the stamen. This is the male part of the flower. And it's basically a tiny factory that produces millions and millions of little grains of pollen, each one carrying the male's genetic info, just waiting to catch a ride. And that ride ends right in the very center of the flower, at the pistil, the female part. When a grain of pollen lands here, it's mission accomplished.
It travels down to the ovary at the base, fertilization happens, and the tiny ovules inside start their incredible transformation into the seeds of the next generation.
But of course, not all plants are flashy and have flowers. The more ancient plants, like pine trees and other gymnosperms, they use a different strategy altogether. They produce cones, and their seeds develop right on the scales of these cones, totally exposed to the air, which is exactly why they're called naked seeds.
All right, let's shift our perspective and scale things way, way down. I'm talking about the microscopic world. For microorganisms, the strategy isn't about fancy flowers or complicated rituals. Nope. Their grand strategy is all about three things: speed, simplicity, and absolutely overwhelming numbers.
And just look at this number. It's staggering. A single bacterial cell can split and multiply into over 1 billion copies of itself in less than half a day. That's the raw power of asexual reproduction cranked up to the absolute max. It's how they've managed to colonize pretty much every single corner of our planet. So how do we even begin to tell these tiny powerhouses apart? Well, a lot of the time, it just comes down to their basic shape. You've got the little spherical ones, called cocci, like the streptococcus that can give you strep throat. Then there are the rod-shaped ones, the bacilli, which include helpful guys like the lactobacillus you find in yogurt. And finally, you've got the spiral-shaped spirilla, some of which can cause food poisoning. And we absolutely cannot forget about the fungi. From the single-celled yeasts we use to make bread to giant mushrooms in the forest, they play such a critical role. They are, without a doubt, nature's ultimate recyclers. They're heterotrophic, which is just a fancy way of saying they can't make their own food. So they get their energy by breaking down dead stuff, returning all those vital nutrients back into the ecosystem for everyone else to use. So from the internal fertilization of a whale to a pine cone dropping seeds in the wind, all the way down to a single bacterium just splitting in two, we've seen a massive range of strategies. And this incredible diversity, it's not just cool to learn about, it's absolutely essential for the resilience and survival of life itself. When you get right down to it, all of this shows that there isn't one single best way to reproduce. The best strategy is simply the one that works for you in your environment. Life's true genius isn't in finding one perfect answer, but in its incredible adaptability, its creativity, and its relentless, unending drive to just keep going. And that leaves us with one last big question to chew on. In a world that is always, always changing, which is better? Is it better to make perfect copies of yourself, a strategy of consistency that's amazing when things are stable? Or is it better to shuffle the genetic deck every single time, creating variety that just might hold the key to surviving something new and unpredictable? Well, it seems the ultimate answer is that life, in its wisdom, bets on both.